When I was going to work today, I saw a video shared on X and where a guy in Dublin is assaulted. He happens to be, well, they called him Indian. I don't know if he was Indian or from Madagascar, obviously, but he was being assaulted, looked like he was drunk. And during the assault, they said, "We are effing Catholics. We are Christians." Telling the guy to go home or something like this. And while immigration is a very hot topic, and there's an Irish blogger from this town, Garen Noon, who did a moderate video on immigration, and he got cancelled. I'm a bit more tough. I can kind of stand my ground when it comes to blogging. And I wouldn't normally do a video on this because I don't get into this polarizing debate. Because you do a video and it gets flooded with comments one side or the other. But one thing I can blog about is, if you're going to use the title Catholic or Christian and assault somebody, you have no idea what that title actually means. You have no idea what it means to be Catholic or Christian. And even if, for example, this person you were in the right and they're in the wrong, we are called to act in a different way, to love in a different way. We are called to embody the teachings of the Master, who is Christ, who asked us to love that other person as you would like to be loved. On the Sermon on the Mount, our Lord said to us, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Are we going to be vessels of eternal hatred, perpetuating hatred from generation to generation? That our government has badly planned this is quite obvious. And I think that's, there to be seen. We have planning permissions and planning laws for every single thing in Ireland. If you want to build a school, you need planning permission. If you want to build a hotel, you need planning permission. If you want to build a house, you need planning permission. If you want to convert a premises, you need planning permission. If you want to open an immigrant centre, you don't need planning permission. And people are saying, what is going on here? Because not only do local communities suffer, but also those that are brought in there suffer. And so it's quite obvious that the government has lost the handle on this. And we see many people making themselves multi-millionaires off this new immigration industry. And that's what it is. And again, that's a simple observation. That's one thing. The other thing is, when you come to meet on a human level people that have come to Ireland illegally to work, or if they've come as illegal immigrants, we are called to treat them with dignity and respect. If we claim to be Catholic and Christian, we have to be able to embody what Christ would do with that person and treat them. And it's just coincidentally today, and this is really why I'm doing this video, I sat down to eat with somebody that I work with on a business level, who happens to be Indian, who happens to be Hindu. And, we're good friends. We know each other for a while. We were sitting there eating, and the topic just came up. And this person had knows about Christianity, had studied in a Catholic school. And yet he was kind of mystified how fractured we are as Christians. He's kind of mystified. Well, Christ said to do such a thing, but you guys seem to, maybe sometimes you do a different thing. And it's true. It's true how oftentimes we fail to live the basics of our Catholic Christian faith. And what Christ is trying to do with the good news is to bring his kingdom onto this world in a way. And how do we bring this kingdom into this world? By learning to love the other. And sometimes the other isn't the person we expect them to be. Love one another. you know, I'm not sure that my video on this channel will ever reach the people that it's meant to reach. Because again, I don't get it. I'm not a politician, and I'm not going to venture into that. I just find it interesting in Ireland that every year we kill 400 classrooms of kids. That's 10,000 abortions every year of our own Irish DNA, mostly Catholic. We don't seem to care. We don't care. We think it's a choice. You know, we celebrated it. It was passed by popular majority. Catholics voted for it. Politicians passed it. And somehow the real enemy is our, and we don't see the real enemy before our eyes. But anyway, this is the Ireland we live in. When you think about it, in the gospel, Christ speaks about the Samaritan, and you have to understand who the Samaritans were. They were the people you don't interact with. They were them, those people. You know, you were committing a grave sin if you were to eat with a Samaritan, etc., etc. And what does Christ do? He comes and breaks down the barriers. He reveals his messianic mission to a Samaritan woman at a well, and not any Samaritan woman. You know, there's a mystic in Italian, Maria Valtorta, and in there's a chapter where Christ brings his disciples into Samaria, and they're all on edge. They're very uncomfortable because they've built up these preconceptions, these mental reservations. It's just a thing you just do not do. You just don't go in and mix with Samaritans. But Christ comes to give them a different message, a different way of living. He changed their lives, their hearts, and they went out and they gave this gospel to the whole world. You know, we're selling Christ so short. The name of Jesus Christ is a curse word in Ireland on our lips most of the time. Catholic means practically nothing. And to use it in as you're attacking an immigrant, no matter what he does, you know nothing about the faith. So I suppose the message I want to give to the Indians I know, you are welcome. You know, you are welcome. I know many of them. I've prayed with many of them. Some of them came to our School of Mary prayer course in Knock. Incredible families. You know, you have a very diverse community in here. Sira Malabar, Sira Malankara, right? Or you also have some Syriac or Eastern Orthodox, or you have Hindus, you have some Muslims. And politics aside, the fact that you are here, I've always found you amazing people to eat with, to pray with. I often see you in Knock in the Basilica. And some of you have more Catholic Christian faith than some Irish that have never understood what it actually means to be Catholic and Christian. I mean, so this is just really my take on it, my message, and I want to encourage. Irish to navigate this topic carefully. We've had successive elections where the topic of immigration could have been brought up and planned differently. Yes, you look at the last election, 30% of the people aren't even bothered to vote. And those that put themselves forward to try and get some change in this topic just don't make it past. And it's not like our election system is rigged. So, you know, there's ways and means of tackling this topic. But I suppose the government needs to know, and I say this personally, they have done a very, very bad decision in how they've managed this problem. Because They're not taking into consideration the future impacts that this has, as seen in other places in Europe, that could be stored up. But politics and decisions aside, when it comes to dealing with the ordinary person that you meet on the street, as Catholics and Christians, we must act like Christ would act towards that person. What experience do they have of Christianity if all they hear from us is abuse, hatred, etc.? Are we called to just react in that way? Again, as I said, I give this video in good faith, not really looking for a debate on this topic. I'm just thinking, those so-called Irish Catholics, so-called because they don't seem to understand an ounce of what the faith actually means, forget that the core of our faith is to learn how to respect and love someone. It was interesting during the conversation at lunch today, which I never get into deep conversations of this manner, but my friend said to me, imagine if two people who are blind meet each other. Two blind people meeting each other, how would they treat each other? How would their interactions be? Sometimes we're called to interact in a different way. And I'll say another thing. I've lived abroad for the guts of 12 years of my life. I usually spend practically every year, up to before the pandemic, I would usually spend either through work or holidays nearly 3 months outside of Ireland every year. So I've travelled a lot. I've been all around the world. And I've learned a lot, and I've made friends. Friends that have opened me, and that living in many places around the world has really educated me, helped me, formed me. I've been to Africa, I've been to Asia, all over Europe, America, Mexico. And it has really opened my eyes to different peoples, to cultures and their faiths. And I suppose I'd love for people to be able to have a future where we weren't living in this constant cycle of hatred. I know that might seem like a utopia, but if you think about it, sometimes you have a choice how you can treat the person in front of you. The person in front of you isn't some person from somewhere else. They're a child of God. God created them for a reason, placed them on this earth for a reason. Maybe as a chance for you to act like a Christian and Catholic. You're confronted with somebody who has different opinions, a different culture, maybe a different religion, and you're confronted. How are you going to act in that situation? Christ was the greatest master when it came to leveling social barriers and systems and differences. He introduced the rich to the poor, to the Samaritans, to the rest of them, to the foreigners, and sometimes I have more in common with a baptized brother or sister from another country than I do with some Irish that supposedly are baptized, but they don't live their faith. They have no understanding of what their faith is. Anyway, I'm just doing this video. I want to give some encouragement, especially to my Indian friend who's searching for God. So you're going to find some bad examples out there, but I desperately hope I'm trying to at least live the gospel that Christ preached to me. When I say preach to me, because when I was 18, Christ didn't appear to me, but he spoke to me. An audible voice. And he spoke about, he said to me, of course I love you. And so I was always captivated by this experience of love. And I think everybody deserves that. Everybody needs to know that. And so Christ has never been an idea for me. He's somebody extremely real. God who sent his son to teach us to love has always been extremely real and personal. And for that reason I blog. And I hope others can go and meet him and experience his love. That's my ardent passion, my what I would like others to do. And read the Gospels. Christ was very clear what he wanted his disciples to do and what way that he wanted them to love. And in this fractured world, this where there are challenges, to those who much is given, much is expected. And I would ask those who love the faith to not forget that if you are Christian and Catholic, that is something important when it comes to how you treat the other person. Otherwise, what they hear and see from you is something that they will hate. They will, if you treat people in such if you abuse them, or they will come to hate what you embody. And God, haven't we seen that in Ireland? Protestants and Catholics, we had enough of that for God loves Helen. We came to hate each other. And at some stage we had to just sit down and look each other in the face and stop killing each other and stop hating each other. The cycle of violence has to end at some stage. And we see this played out all across the world. Everybody bleeds the same blood. Everybody cries the same tears. Everybody feels the same pain. Everybody experiences the same hunger. We're not that different at the end of the day when you realize this. A grieving mother will be a grieving mother in whatever country, whatever religion, whatever race, whatever place. We have to be able to, we have to be able to live in a different way. And it may seem like a utopia that I'm asking for, but I can't change the world. All I can do is change myself and change how I interact around me. That's it. That's it. And I think this is what God would want me to do. It's certainly what Christ is asking us to do. To love that person that you're interacting with as in an ordered and proper way. Anyway, I just want to give this message to my Indian friends. You are and always will be welcome. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.